Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Andre. I'm the founder of Zero BI, and in this webinar I will present various ways how to visualize variances in Power BI dashboards, in Power BI reports. I will try to dig into some details. This is a second webinar we are doing for the Power BI, and as we demonstrated in the last webinar, the ability to present the variances in a really clear way is probably the most important feature of any business dashboard, financial dashboard, or sales dashboard. So hopefully this time I'll be able to show you some ideas, not just the basic things, but also a little bit more advanced options, how to add, for example, how to add forecasts to your reports and to your dashboards, how to present year-to-date values versus monthly values and things like that. So let me show you a few pictures for the start. So this would be maybe a typical dashboard in Power BI, which is based on the IBCS standard, data visualization standard. And as you see here, the variances are actually the most important part of a dashboard page, right? So like in this waterfall chart, we have the plan here and we have the actual. So we are 3% below the plan, and now here in between I have monthly variances, so minus 18, let's say 1,000 euros or something below the plan, and then February and so on. And then we see in July and August we are doing better, but we are still below the plan. But now the question is, what is the forecast until the end of the year? That would be even more interesting now, because I'm in monthly reporting, I'm probably interested in seeing the variances until the end of the year, and to have some sort of idea what will happen until the end of the year. Similarly, here we have let's call it a table chart, right? It's a collection of charts here displaying actual versus budget versus plan, and again the variances. Here, this one is the absolute variance. This is the relative variance, so the variance in percent. But here we see that only one level of information is visualized. Yeah, the lowest level in my hierarchy here. So, but I have three different groups. So I have my data structured by first by country, then by product. So now it would be interesting to see the totals for the country and so on. But then you have some typical data visualization problems, because when you're displaying totals, then you get some long bars in your charts and so on, and this then will break your scaling and so on. So I'll try to give some ideas how to present data which is structured in hierarchies. That will be my next point. The most important point is probably this one. So add the forecasts to your monthly reports dashboards. This is, if you have a forecast, please include this in your reports, in your dashboards. If you don't have it, try to introduce some sort of forecasts so that you don't always just look in the past, right? Always present the past, but try to include also a little bit of the future. So this will be a very important part of this webinar, and then we'll try to present this in different ways. So here is a waterfall chart where we have the variances. This is my plan, and we are not doing good until May. Then we are doing a little bit better. So this is my actual data up until September. But now you see I also have the data for the rest of the year. Of course, this is now my forecast for the rest of the year, and I see where my forecast is, and as it appears here, according to this forecast, will continue performing better than expected, better than the plan for the rest of the year, and according to this forecast will end up with 7% increase to our original plan or budget. So try to present some ideas how to include the forecasts in your models and how to use them in your dashboards. Then next, the things can become a little bit more advanced. So instead of just showing data for the totals, for the total plan and actual, try to present data in more detail, like in small multiples here. So we are combining year-to-date values. All right. So here I'm actually displaying year-to-date values, which is up until September. This is my actual. So we are above the plan here for the stationery product category, right? So 20% above the plan. But we also have the forecast until the end of the year. So I have actual and forecast compared to plan in the same chart. It's year to date, and now I have multiple charts so that I'm able to present different types of products or different business units, cost centers, and so on. And when you put everything on one page, this can become quite powerful, because now the user can do the comparison between product categories. It's very clear which product category is more important than others, how much more important, where do we have the problems with variances here in the category of pet care, for example. It looks like that will end, almost half, almost on 50% of the plan or something like that. So I'll try to do something like this, and of course I'll present different types of how to do this with different types of charts. Like for example, here we have the whole situation for the UK, and then this is breakdown by product here. So you can start combining single charts for the totals with more details. So you can do it in this way, like put the total on the left and then present more details on the right, or you can do it in three parts. So you have the big picture and the details, and then more details, or details according to another dimension, and so on. So this will be the first part, and then I will try to present some ideas how to display data which is hierarchical in nature, or when you want to display several dimensions in the same chart in the same table. Like for example, here now we have the totals for Asia Pacific region with certain countries inside and so on, and then Europe and Americas, and then we have the total here. So this would be a simple version with the so-called plus minus chart for the variances, right? But you can actually do something like this. So instead of just presenting the variances, compare the variances flat like this in this column, you can actually use the waterfall chart to present the variances. Now you still have the variances here for different countries, and we see, okay, China below the plan and so on. But now these variances, because they're displayed in the waterfall chart, you also get the explanation, how did each country contribute to the total result here in the Asia Pacific region, and similarly here then in Europe and Americas and so on, and then you have the grand total, right? So this is an important idea, because this would still be like sales reporting, sales versus plan, sales versus previous year, and so on. Finally, we'll arrive at the income statement, right? I have seen a lot of attempts how to present P&Ls, income statements, profit and loss statements in Power BI, and it appears to me that this is a huge problem in Power BI. So we in Zebra BI, we have paid special attention to this, and right today we have released a new version of our visual that supports income statements. Income statements meaning the major complication, let's say, in income statements when you try to present them is that you have different types of KPIs. So you have some good KPIs like the revenues and so on, which are of course added. So you have some, let's say this is some sort of software company. We have some revenue from software sales and from support services consulting. And this is all added up here, and you now see this in a waterfall chart. So first type of revenue, second, and so on. This is my subtotal here. My first result is my total revenue. But then you have the cost of goods sold, right? Which, for example, 128 million, right? But those costs, of course, need to be subtracted from the revenue, right? So we have two complications here. First of all, the visual needs to understand that this type of KPI, the COGS, right, the cost of goods sold, is a negative, a bad KPI, right? So that's why I have a little minus here. And even though, the costs are growing from previous year it was 122 million, this is 128 million, so plus 8 million, but of course this is subtracted from the revenue, and it's also red, okay? It's also red, so this row here in a table has somehow an inverted meaning, right? And then as we move down to gross profit, this gross profit is now a sub-calculation, right? This is now a result where the costs of goods sold are subtracted from the revenue, right? And then we get the gross profit, and then we move on with other types of expenses and amortization and so on, and finally arriving at some net income. So it's the most basic financial statement. Every company has it, but it's a little bit tricky to present the numbers in a meaningful way. And especially in Power BI, I found this quite a challenge. So hopefully I'll be able to show you how you can do it with the help of the Zebra BI visuals. So let me dive into my topic. So I will try to do everything directly in Power BI. First in the Power BI service, then I'll move to Power BI desktop. For all of you who have not seen the Zebra BI custom visuals, let me just first start with a few. I'll just repeat quickly. I'll run through a few things that we have shown in the previous webinar, just to understand. So first of all, when you're presenting figures like, sales versus budget. So now I have a simple variance here, okay? Actually, this is not previous year, it's budget. So I will move this field to the plan, just to tell the visual that this is this particular measure here is a sort of a plan. Go. So with this, the notation changes, and this is a standard IBCS notation for the plan here. So this type of charts that have the horizontal axis are always used to present data, some sort of time series. So for example, here I have a waterfall chart running by month. Of course, if you don't like this chart, you can do it in this way. So these are now the most typical variance charts that you would use for presenting variances across time, like monthly, yearly, quarterly, and so on, right? So this is the column chart. Use this one if you have, a small amount of categories, like here, 6 month or 12 month and so on. If you have more data points, for a few years or weekly time series or so on. Or if you have a multiple, right? So you have a lot of charts with small category width here, then it's probably better to switch to either this chart. So this is the so-called hills and valleys chart where you present. So this is my actual. Here now the dotted line here is my plan, and the variances are colored in between. Or you can do it simply with two lines, so actual and versus budget, and then here you have the so-called difference highlight. Okay, so these are the basic options. You can display this in absolute values or in percentage or both, right? Also the variances here, you can present them in percentages or in absolute variances or both, right? So if you only have small amount of space available, use it like this. If you make it bigger, if you have space, try to make it bigger, right? Our charts are fully responsive. So now I have the base here. So I have actual and my plan. This is my absolute variance. This is my relative variance, right? So those are the basic things, and you do the multiples. So if you now add another dimension like the product, just click product. Now you get the multiples, right? So the same component here will display more charts, maybe more meaningful like this or like this, right? So this would be the basic variance charts. Let me put this out and just have one chart here. Okay, so use this one for time, and for everything else, like for products, for cost versus budget and so on, use charts with vertical axis. Okay, so let me show you. So for example, this is again sales versus goal, but this time I'll split this by category, product category. You see, so this is now always use vertical axis for products, for business units, for cost centers, and so on. Again, this visual is responsive, so if you have more space, then additional information will be displayed, this time the relative variance. So you have relative variance here, you have the absolute variance here. So you see the men's category is the first one, and so on. If you have even more space, then this will look like this. Okay, this is still a simple data set, right? I have a flat data set when I comparing products, right? Just flat, no hierarchy, and so on. So if you have a flat dimension like this, just one level in hierarchy and so on, then you can display, the comparison of the elements, and then, the variance and so on. Now let's try to make this a little bit more interesting. Okay, first of all, in my data set, I have my values, my actuals, and I also have the goal, right? And by default, the Zebra BI visual will display clean, pure data visualization without, any kind of redundancy and so on. But if you wish, you can do something like this. So if you go here, like on the header, you see that you have options now to change charts, add additional information, and change something. Like, for example, if you click here, now you have the comparison here. My reference scenario, business scenario is displayed, right? Some people like this. It's a recommendation of Dr. Rolf Hickert, and it's used in IBCS. Me personally, I prefer cleaner charts like this because I think it's better that you focus the user's attention on the variances themselves, right? But if you want, if you think it's helpful, you can add the comparison like this. The type of comparison, how the comparison looks like, is controlled here. So this is actually not a previous year, this is my plan. So if it's plan, you see, just move it here in the field for the plan, and now the notation will change. This is the standard notation for the plan. And if it's forecast, you can do it like this, and now this will change and you will have the forecast, right? So this is one additional option, right? You could just switch it on off here. Then there are some other options, like for example, if you go here, well, first of all, the sorting, right? In most cases, when you have a data set like this, you'll probably sort by actual, which is the default for this visual, but you can change the sorting simply by clicking here. You can sort by any type of data that you have inside your visual. Then there's another option here. This one is not very meaningful. Let me show this in a different example. Now, when we move on, let me now switch to here we had a flat data set, right? Just flat comparison of the products, and now, of course, you can, when you click on a product, then this chart here is filtered, right? So you see the juniors, home, women's, and so on, right? But this is a flat one. So now let's switch back to this one. What happens if you have more levels in your data set? Like, for example, here the country and then the region. Okay, so let's just delete the region for now. So this is what we had before, right? We had, first of all, we had this, and we did not have the total, right? So this would be another thing. If you need the total, so like this would be like the grand total, right? You have an option in this visual to display the grand total or not, right? So this is the default without the grand total, and here this is the grand total. Even when you sort everything and so on, total is always at the bottom. This is one thing, so you can add the total here. All right, but more interestingly, I have the country, and now I will add the region. First time you add the region is added to the group field, meaning that you are now displaying your countries by group of, grouped by region, right? This basically gives you the same display as before, only it is repeated multiple times. So you still have the comparison, right? The comparison by country, but it's just grouped by the region, right? So this is one way, okay? You can use this. Again, you have all the same options here. But now, if you move the region from the group field back to the category field, so this would be above the country, now I have built a hierarchical data set. So you see, now I have my countries, and now I have my region as a part of the data set, and you also have all the totals and the total variance for the EU and so on, right? So this is the big difference here. If you put your secondary dimension here into group, then you get this type of display. If you move it to the category field, you get a data table or a table chart combination with the totals. Now let's present a few options here. First of all, there's a big discussion. Is it better to have the totals above or below, right? I mean, here you have the options, so you can choose whether you want to show totals above. This is actually the default option, although I think in most cases it's actually better to display the totals below. So this is I think still more standard data presentation. So this is one way, and then again you can add the grand total at the bottom. So now we have the groups, Europe, Americas, and so on. But if you want to have the grand total, you just enable it here. So now you see we got the grand total here, and you can actually rename it. So right, because the total is too generic, it can be anything, mean anything. So try to find a better. So in my case, maybe this is world, the whole world, or maybe something like that. So in most cases, you'll find a much better label than the total, and you can just change it here, right? So now you see, now we have 3 levels of information presented in a variance table: the country, the region, the total. Now the thing that I wanted to present, the type of chart that you are using for the variances. First of all, the sorting, you can sort by the actual, by the plan, and so on. In many cases, it is meaningful to sort by the variance, because then you immediately know what are countries, which countries are problematic, which countries are good, and so on. So maybe this is considered sorting by the plan. And when you do this, you can also switch the display of this variance to the waterfall chart, you see. So this is your second option. Now you still have the plus minus, you have the positive variances, the negative variances, but you also have the subtotal here for the region, and maybe it's a little bit more clear how did each country contribute to the total result of the region, of each region, right? This is why this presentation or the waterfall chart is actually, it's used for contribution analysis. So if you want to show this contribution, then maybe this is a better option, so you can switch here. Then there is the third option. So now the waterfall charts are on 2 levels, on the country and the region level, and this visualization explains the contribution of country to the region. Now if you use the third option, this becomes a little bit, you see, so let me do it again. This is the basic one, just plus minus, simple variances, very clear, everybody will understand this. If you need it, then you can explain the contribution to the region, and then the third one is the contribution of everything to the total, right? So this is like a global waterfall chart now. It runs across 3 levels, and with this it becomes a little bit more complex to understand and so on. So I'm not sure, you need to be careful not to make things too complicated. So have your end users in mind. Is this a good option or not? But as you will see a little bit later, this is a really good option for the income statements, right? Because in the income statement, you actually need this sort of calculation that runs until the end result. But here, it also depends on the sort order of the variances and so on. But anyway, it will explain how come that we ended up with such a bad result here in my case, unfortunately, right? So all the 3 regions were negative, and we're just moving here to the left, which is not a good sign, right? Okay. Or alternatively, simple solution is this one. So this particular design, the colors and so on are the official or recommended colors of the IBCS. This is the direct design that Dr. Rolf Hichert is using, right? So you can change this in your styles. So the default style would be zebra style, which is slightly different but very similar to the official one. Then you can use the Power BI colors. If you're using the default Power BI styles and colors in your other dashboards, you can just switch your style to Power BI, and these are the basic colors from the Power BI color scheme. Or alternatively, you can change the design completely. You can customize it. We also have a colorblind friendly option, and then you can switch to custom. Here you can completely change, everything. So you can use the blue versus orange, which some people recommend, but I'm not sure if this really works for the variances. I think not. But you can do it in this way. You can change practically everything. So just a side note about the colors. Okay, let me switch this back to. This is now how you handle the several levels of a hierarchy here. So you can use this, like region, country, and just move the fields, from one option to the other option, like this, or this is the other way around. So of course, first the higher level, then the lower level. Let me try to do this. So if you don't have it, so you should already have a hierarchy in your data here, right? So let me just move this back. If you do something like this in your model, just drop the country into the region. Then the Power BI will actually build a hierarchy for you. You see, this is the hierarchy. So now I will just throw out the country and throw in the whole hierarchy here. Just one click. And you see, now I have the whole hierarchy here, and my visual has automatically switched the view to this hierarchical table. So this is the default behavior of Zebra BI. It tries to detect what kind of data it is, and then tries to present it with the best possible option here. So good. So much about the hierarchies. Now let's move to my favorite topic. All right, let me try to. I'll just remove a few things here just to switch back to a typical situation in reports. Typically, you would just have the sales and then compare this to your plan. And for example, let's say that now we are in September. We just got the actuals for September, and then you do it like this. You have the actuals up until August, and then for the next month, you refresh everything, you get the new month. Just show another month, but you're always actually looking back into the past. There's no future here. There's no future, and also many times year-to-date is missing. So let's try to solve both challenges here. First of all, year-to-date. I have a really nice model here, which allows me to simply switch from the monthly view to the year-to-date view. So this is just like a feature of my model. Let me show you how this works. You see now I have year-to-date and monthly, right? Let me take this apart and I'll just remove this. Okay, so this would be your typical, chart, actual versus budget, monthly. Okay, so now what I have here first of all, I have my calendar. My calendar here in my model has, the dates, but it also has month, quarter, year, and the year, quarter, month hierarchy. That's number one. That's the minimum that you need for a normal reporting dashboard in Power BI. But what I like to do is add another calculation, which I call a period calculation. And what this is, let me just put this here. So period calculation is simply a switch between a monthly view or a period view and the year-to-date view. You see. And behind this, there's a little bit of ducks in my model, but I find this a nice way, because now you can just use this in a couple of ways. Okay, so the first idea is you can actually just click on the visual and click on period calculation. Wow, and because this is now a calculation, a short dimension with two elements, year-to-date and monthly, my visual is already showing me two options, the year-to-date chart and the monthly chart. You see this? So it's kind of you see, This is the monthly chart, this is the year-to-date chart. So I actually get both year-to-date and monthly in the same visual. I haven't actually used this, but it's a simple idea. All right, now when we have this, you can use, this will be a more standard way, just add your period calculation, the monthly and the year-to-date to your dashboard. You would probably want to switch to some sort of slicer here. So this is one option. So now you see you have monthly versus year-to-date. For short slicers, for short dimensions, I prefer slicers. So the horizontal slices with buttons. This one switched the orientation to horizontal, right? So this is a way. And you probably don't need the, this is enough. This is understandable. Monthly, year-to-date, monthly, year-to-date, that's it. The beautiful thing about my model here is that this actually now works for any kind of measure. It's a separate dimension, works for any kind of measure, right? I have seen models, most people would add another measure here, like sales actual year-to-date, sales forecast year-to-date, sales plan year-to-date, and so on. Then the number of your measures just multiplies by 2. So I prefer it in this way. But now that we have the monthly and the year-to-date option, let's see a couple of ways how you present this. So if you use year-to-date on column charts, then you will always have these bars going in this diagonal way, meaning that you will end up with a lot of ink here at the bottom, which is not necessarily a good thing. Try to have, presentations as minimal as possible. So in this way, for example, for the year-to-date, I actually prefer a line chart or the line area chart. So this would be the area chart. You see, normally it's like this, and this is now the year-to-date, right? And it's an interesting option here. Or a pure line chart, so actual and then the budget, and we see the gap, right? And we also have the difference highlights. So this is the minimal, presentation of year-to-date, I would say. You can also minimize this one. This chart, the area chart, has another option. Let me quickly show you. You have the opacity here. So you have the style, but you also, in some cases, you have some additional design options here. So you can just switch the opacity, lower the opacity. If you put it to 0, then you get a simple shape like this without any unnecessary areas. But now that we have this, what happens when you add your month? And this is now my rest of year, okay? This is now my rest of year, so I have the plan, right? I have my annual budget, right? But if you're lucky, you're also using forecasts, in your models. And if you're lucky enough to have a model here, then you can do something like this. Just switch. So this is my chart. What I'll do is I'll just take my forecast and put it into forecast. Voila. This is much, much more meaningful now, because you see, not only that I understand that we are, year-to-date here is above the budget, but we'll also continue doing this, or actually will increase, at least that's the forecast, right? Increase the variance until the end of the year, right? So this can be really, really powerful. If you have forecasts, add them to your reports. If you don't have it, try to introduce some sort of forecasting in your organization and bring it to your data models, right? Yeah, this would be one idea. If you have just now, for example, a nice view for this is probably this one. I think this is my favorite one. Just a simple waterfall chart. This is my total budget. This is my total forecast now. And these are the variances, this is the actual and this is the forecast here. It's clean, and it's the most important information is inside. And the advantage of this one over just a simple, bar chart comparison, right, or column chart comparisons, is that you actually have the year-to-date, right? You have the full figure here. Just if you take away this, and this is now my year-to-date, right? If you add the forecast until the end of the year, you have the full year, right? So you have the monthly values, but you also understand the influence of monthly variances to the end result, which is, you know, the most important thing, right? Are we going to make it until the end of the year or not? So that's why I prefer this one. A lot of people love to cut axes in the waterfall charts. You can do this in ZebraVI, and everything else will work, you know, so it's still responsive and so on. And I think it looks kind of nice, right? But you know, you need to be careful, right? You need to be careful because we have tried to make this presentation as clean as possible so that there's no axis at the bottom, so people will understand that, you know, this is not ending here. But still, you see, this is plus 7%, but it looks much bigger, right, than it actually is. So, you know, be careful with the axis breaks in your reporting. Let me see if I have the switch here. All right, so now let me show you another little trick, which a lot of people have asked me about this. Now we are presenting variances, monthly variances, year-to-date variances, actuals, and also with the forecasts, but then you also have the comparison to plan and comparison to previous year. There are many ways how you do this. Some people like to have a switch, right, so that the users will switch from previous year. So this is now my previous year, this is now my plan. Previous year, it's of course different, and you know, I have the previous year notation here and another figure. I would probably do it like this, and also here, right? So, but anyway, you can do the switch here. You can just do the switch here. The trick here is to have two charts. You see how I did this? I have one chart for the plan, and then I have another chart for the previous year, which is here, and then with simple elements here that actually use bookmarks, I implemented this switch. So once now the previous year chart is visible and the plan chart is invisible. So both charts are there. I'm just switching visibility with this bookmark. So with a bookmark, you can switch visibility of charts, and this is the idea how to, you know, do this interactively. And then of course you need to make sure that you overlap them perfectly. So it's a little bit of a hassle, but you can do it. So right, so now we have previous year plan, we have the switch to year-to-date monthly. Oh, year-to-date like this in waterfall chart, it's not meaningful, of course. So if you have the year-to-date, use this one, or I would say probably this one. For monthly, you can use this one or this one with the variances. Let me switch to the income statement. I will end with this one. So one more thing. The income statements, let me first start. If you have a table, which one was it? All right, this is now sales versus plan. If this would be costs, then you have a simple switch here, and you would just click on chart settings and just click invert. Invert, this would be for costs, expenses, and so on, whichever bad KPI. So if the costs are increasing, that's not good. If they are decreasing, that's good. So this is a simple option here, which would turn the whole chart, you know, invert the meaning in the whole chart. So just is the cost, this is the sales. But with the income statements, you know, we must do this by each row. So now I have my income statement here. Let me switch it here. Let me try to build this, okay, so that you will, let me try to recreate this. Page. I'll just delete it. All right, we add the visual. And now, which was my data source? Let me just check. T03. I have multiple data sources here, so let's compare my actuals and to my plan. And now I have my account. So now I have my accounts from chart of accounts. I'll just add account. But you see this kind of, okay, it's presented software revenue and looks strange, but you see, is it the setting, it's off. It does not make sense, you know, because the software revenue and the cost is completely different situation. I will add account group, and now I will move the account group to category to create the hierarchy. This is a little bit better now. So now I have my revenue and then types of revenue here and so on. Now what I will do is I will switch the display of totals below, because this is a more normal way. These are some comments that I'm using. So now, and let's make it bigger. Now we have it like this. This is like comparison of sales or something. Everything is positive and negative and so on. But now certain types of data here are negative. Okay, let me just do one more thing. So this is if you add separately. If you already have a hierarchy, then it's just one click. You see, just one click. Now I think I need to do the sorting. I just turn off my sorting. So you see, by default, the visuals will sort by the number. In a P&L, that's not really meaningful. It's probably better just to turn off the sort and use your original order of your P&L statement. First the revenues, then the gross profit, and so on, up until the net income. Okay, so now I have the right order. Now I need to say that the COGS, this is a negative KPI, so I do this by right-clicking. So now I right-click on my row here and just say invert. The cost of goods sold were inverted, and they go into this direction. And the gross profit now is result. The gross profit is result. You see, this is the gross profit. Now, expenses. This is also some sort of expense. It's cut here, okay? It's cut here, so let me show you quickly a few more options for categories. You can display categories. By default, they will, subtract, they will shrink or expand based on the space available. But you can switch to full, meaning that you will always have full labels here, or you can switch to fixed width and then say, okay, I want exactly 144 pixels for this, which is also nice if you are, if you want to have a pixel perfect design of your dashboard. In my case, I'll just switch to full here, and now let's continue. Invert this one. These are expenses. I'll invert this one. Other financial income. This is positive KPI. And other operating income, this is it. And this is, you see, it's already a result, because when you have some KPIs that go, like in plus and some in minus, this group will automatically switch to a result. Otherwise, you can just do it once again here. Income tax expenses, again, this needs to be inverted. This is again the result. You see, when I switch to result, everything changes. You see, these are completely automatic calculations of the whole balance sheet or income statement. You just need to say what each KPI type is, and now the Zebra BI visual will do this. Income, and this is now final result here. You see, this is it. And if you display it like this in the waterfall chart, you have the whole calculation here. This one would be comparison to previous or to plan. Okay, so this is now better. Comparison to plan. Do I have the previous year? You can do it to compare to previous year. Again, you see here. This one looks nice. So the revenue. You see total revenue is like this. And then we have the cost of goods sold. The result is the gross profit. And then from gross profit, we start subtracting the other types of expenses and so on. So you can have mixed KPIs within the same group. That's the beauty of this solution. So not just one group of revenues, one group of costs, and then result. You can mix it up, so you can control each row and all the results and so on. All right, my time is up, so I would like to hand the word to you. Please, if you have any kind of questions, now is a good time to ask me. So there's a little questions box. Please type your questions. I'll try to answer all of your questions. Otherwise, I'll follow up via email. The visuals, let me just show you. If you go to zebra.bi, this is our default homepage, which mostly presents our Excel adding. If you're doing this for the first time, then you'll probably get a pop-up window, but otherwise just go to zebrabi.com/PBI for Power BI. So /Power BI/PBI, enter, and now here you will get the visuals. You can download the visuals here. You have the free trial, so if you click here, if you haven't done this, just type in your email and your name, and then you will automatically get links to download the visuals. And along with some basic documentation, we have the help here, which is still a little bit basic, but you'll get some instructions. If you're not using Power BI, then just start here at the beginning. Otherwise, you'll find some other topics here. And we are recording this webinar, so the recording will be added here after 2 days or something. I will try to share all the files that I have shown today. And now to your questions. Are the sample files available? Yes, I will send them in 2 days along with the recording. How do system understand order of income statements? That's a really good question. You need to take care of this in your Power BI model. So how does the system understand that first the gross revenue and so on and so on? I have a simple trick for the account. For the account, I also have the account ID. This account ID is a sort order. So it's a number, it's a number. So every account, like software revenue is 1, support revenue is 2, and so on. So then you just click on the account field and go to modeling, and here switch to your account ID. Okay. The option to display full name is, so it's not cut anymore. It's very nice. Just include this in the Excel version of Zebra BI. You can do this in the Excel version of Zebra BI. Pascal, please just send me this via email. I'll just show you. Excel is still more flexible, so you can do everything in Excel. The layout of data in Power BI for these charts. The layout of data, well, I can show you the data. This is very simple here. I'm not sure which one you wanted to see, but it's basically you have 2 columns, right? The actuals and the previous year, and the actual and the forecast. So in some cases you have 3 columns, and that's more or less it. I mean, it's very simple, but you need to have a few basic things sorted out, right? So for example, here, if I show the data, you'll see there are 3 columns. 3 columns, this is my plan. The plan is for the full year. Then it's my forecast. This is also for the full year, or maybe you will have it only for the last, for the rest of the year. And then you have the actuals up until a certain, the actual month, like the September or something, right? And for everything else, you will have empty here, empty cells, so a null value or something. I have seen some models which unfortunately return 0 value here for the rest of year in actual, which is not good. So try, if you have this problem and you have zeros here, you will see that the actual will be displayed here, but it will be 0. So then you will have large negative variances according to the plan, because of course the visual Power BI thinks that this is my sales, but it was just 0, right? So here. Oh, by the way, the drill down. Okay. I'm not sure if you know this. There's also the drill down, right? So if you do it, like if you start with the year. So for example, here I have a year to date, year, quarter, month hierarchy here. So you just click, and now you have the quarters. And now you want to see, all right, I'm interested in this quarter 4 forecast. You click here, and now you see, and everything is labeled nicely here. So you see, you get an additional label here. When you go down, you see this is now just monthly, but if you go down into the year, you see it's 2017. Now I drill down into Q4, it's drilled down here now, and now I see my forecast for the year. Yeah, the other option is you expand to the next level, right? Now you have the quarters, and then you expand to the monthly levels, or you say expand all down. So now you're expanding all down, and in this case, you also get the quarterly labels and everything, right? So this is, by the way, good. Thank you. I'm glad that everybody likes the P&L. Please try this and give me feedback. I will upload the P&L file along with Excel data source, so that you will just type in your data, and then you can try it in in your P&L, and please give me feedback because this is really new and people are doing their P&Ls in hundreds of different ways. Yeah, Michael. At the moment, there is no help for the income statement. This was just released today, literally today. Expect another article in the help section that will explain this along with sample PBIX files. Let me see. Lots of comments. Thank you, guys. How will system understand month sorting if I use financial year beginning from September 2017? This is a challenge. If you can please send this to my email, I'll try to follow up and then try to create an example and so on. It's not trivial, but there are ways how to do it. All right, Rolf, thank you very much. Thank you, Rolf. That's amazing. Can we download the samples and so on? Thanks, guys. I'll upload everything. Thanks for all the good thoughts you're sending our way. Just download the visuals if you haven't tried this and just give us your feedback. Thank you very much. I'll upload everything in 2 to 3 days and see you in my next webinar in like three weeks or something. We'll try to do something. If anybody is going to Dublin for the Data Summit, I will have a presentation there and it will include a Microsoft case study, a little short case study how Microsoft is doing this with our Zebra BI visuals. This is going to be fun. So if you're in Dublin on the 23rd of April, join my talk. Thank you. Bye.